Sometimes it feels like I am sitting on the edge of a fog that I've actually ventured into before, and a fog that I actually played in before. But sometimes it does feel like I'm just kind of sitting here on a stump next to the fog as people walk by me with curious looks on their faces, wondering why I won't step into the fog. They won't step into the fog. Or maybe they do step into the fog, but most of them don't step into the fog. They just wonder why I like to play near the fog, like I like playing near the edge or something like that. And it's interesting too because, I have gone into that space before, that darkness and that unknown, that fog, if you will. And like I said, I used to play there. I was curious, but they say curiosity killed the cat, and I wouldn't say curiosity killed my passion, but I would say that curiosity definitely brought about experiences that I didn't really expect to impact me the way that they did. And I think that is what we call the dark night of the soul. When we decide to gallivant out and explore the other aspects of our being and the deep recesses of our minds and of our hearts and of our soul and our spirit, we do end up uncovering aspects and layers of ourselves that we may feel like we otherwise weren't ready to know. But I do have the belief that God will not put anything in our life that we are not ready for. But there are moments and times where we have to take a recess, if you will, and take a break from exploring those areas, because sometimes, depending upon what's going on and in your level of, your experience, where you are right now, you may need time apart. You may need time away from these different aspects to recollect and regather. Because I think those of us who are on this journey of self-discovery and really doing our best to understand how the creation of us works within this creation, because we're all co-creative beings. I do believe that, but I do believe that this instrument that we call the body and these things that we call the mind and the heart and the soul and the spirit, they are all working together. And as we do our best to understand and uncover the truths behind these different things, or the truth, sometimes we might find ourselves in prickly situations that may make our heart feel heavy, our soul feel heavy, that may cause us to cry spiritually, if you will, to cower, to wonder, to be afraid, to ask ourselves why we even took up this mantle in the first place, why we even bothered to open Pandora's box, if you will, because you can't put it back in. And I think a lot of us are at that point. A lot of us have opened said box for quite some time now, and we're dealing with the repercussions of said opening of box. Repercussions doesn't have to have the negative connotation that's usually associated with it either. I think it's simply, what has happened as a result, and we have to ask ourselves if we are responding or if we are reacting. Right now, the world is, everyone's reacting. There's a great reaction. It takes a higher mind and a higher heart to respond as opposed to react. React is usually more instinctual. It's usually more animalistic. And responding usually is of a higher order. Not to say that we are better than animals or anything like that. I just think that, there are different lessons in everything, and animals do teach us lessons. But right now we are more in a emotional reactive state instead of a higher sense of just responding. Not really sure where I'm going with this, but I want to tell you and encourage you that if you find yourself like me, kind of sitting on the edge of this fog, and there's an element of, optimism here, mixed with anxiety, ironically, and sprinkled with, I would say excitement, but excitement's not really the word. I think the word is more jubilation, because even though we have ventured into these areas before and we do feel like we can go there again, but we are definitely anxious on what could happen. But we're so worried about the future and what the future may hold that I feel like a lot of us are kind of clinging to this moment, or the present, if you will. Forgive the ding. But I think I think we are all in interesting times. I think there's a lot of us who are on this spiritual path that have found themselves taking a break from actively diving into it. But I don't think we can ever truly take a break, because you're probably to the point like me where you see symbols and symbolisms and pretty much everything. So it's not like you can run away from it. But I do think we are being given a time to rest and to recollect, to recess where we are right now. I do feel that way, because I've actually have been able to carve out some level of peace amongst all the madness, and I hope that you have been able to as well. But I think the truth still remains that, at least for me, I feel like love will win in the end, no matter what the world may appear and look like, no matter how much fog there may be to deter us or to confuse us, to befuddle us, to sort of trip us up, to even just make us afraid of even venturing into it in the first place. The one thing I will say about that is that the sun can effortlessly break through the fog. I've seen it happen in real time, and it was honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed. I think it was sometime last year where I witnessed that. And that was actually pretty amazing. Just that moment just really sticks out to me. And there are moments like that will stick out to you. The other moment that really sticks out to me is when I was looking into what I call the Eye of God, which was essentially a sunset. But the way that moment was, that's really what it felt like. I'm really making this to encourage you to take this journey at your own pace. There is no right way to go about it per se. There is no one way to go about this. We are all divine beings. We are all connected divinely. I do believe that. And, we all have our various lessons that we must learn. But, we can look out at the world at different spiritual gurus and such and so forth. And one thing that I realized in this time of recess is that I really don't know shit. And that's I really don't know shit. I really don't. And maybe you've come to that conclusion too, which is why you may be taking a recess, a vacation from these different aspects and exploring these aspects. But, I want to encourage you to take things at your own pace, to love yourself, to have compassion for yourself and others, even those that you may disagree with, even those that you may not see eye to eye with, even those that you would normally not associate yourself with. Just, hold space by, sometimes you hold space by giving space. I think that's where we are right now as a collective anyways. To maybe hold space by giving space and allowing people to simply be and kind of work through whatever they got to work through. But if you're like me, kind of sitting, I kind of see myself as like, I don't play any instruments, but almost feel like kind of like kind of just sitting on a stump, playing some music as there's like a fog, like literally right next to me. Maybe it's like a forest, something like that. And people are walking by wondering why in the world I'm just sitting there as they continue about their lives and stuff, because this is a forest that we've been told not to go into. And I've gone into that forest many a time. But right now, I'm simply content sitting there and kind of just listening. Listening to the music that I play. And also listening to the subtle sounds that are coming from said foggy forest, if you will. If you are like me and you find yourself in a position like this, I would encourage you to not allow any type of outside influence to tell you when you should or should not venture into that space again. I say take it at your own time and just allow yourself to simply be in that moment. That's where I am right now. That's where I am. I haven't really been actively engaging in a lot of these spiritual practices and stuff that I had before. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel like I'm not spiritual or not connected. I'm just simply taking a recess to recollect things. So when I do venture into those places again, I can be more responsive instead of reactive. But I think it's natural to be reactive. Or at least not necessarily natural, or maybe it is natural. Maybe we have to learn how to respond and to not react. Because if you think about it, a baby, If they're crying, they're reacting, you know what I mean? But they are in a much more vulnerable state. And, as we grow older, we have to be taught really to respond as opposed to react. The world is in a very reactive state, overreactive. It's about responding and having the ability to respond. I think that's what we're cultivating right now in this world. We're developing the ability to respond and not to simply react. So, don't be too hard on yourself. You've been through a lot. I know I've been through a lot. And I know that, while we do have different experiences, we are all still, in this together. I do believe that. Even though we don't all agree and see eye to eye, there are a lot of things that I feel are universal from one person to the next. So, anyways, I love you all. Take care. I didn't really know where this was going to go per se. I just went to the gym and made a few other runs. But while I was at the gym, I thought about this. And I was like, I kind of wanted to make it on the spot, but I'd rather just finish my workout and do what I got to do. But, yeah, I love you all. Take care. Stay blessed. And I will see you all in the next one.